Joel Barnes. Um, 29 years old, from Kentucky. I'm black. Skinny black kid from Kentucky that's a singer-songwriter, worship leader, artist. I've been able to work with some amazing people in the industry thus far. Shouldn't have, I personally don't think I should really be here. Like, I didn't get myself here. Like, I snuck into my first, like, camp, and it kind of worked out, and I had to figure out how to be an artist. I love sports. I love anime. I'm a nerd, so I read a lot of books, or I watch a lot of documentaries. I love God, love his people, love the priesthood that he's called me to, and I'm just trying to create something beautiful that will live with people for a very good portion of their life, if not their entire lifetime. I'm not really interested in entertaining people. I'm trying to nurture people and feed people in the music. I'm trying to nurture their souls, trying to give them something that they can live with to carry them through the highs and the lows of life. So that's who Joel is. My house was filled with music as a kid, like especially on Saturdays when everybody's doing their chores. Whoever's cleaning the kitchen, whoever's cleaning the dining room, the bathrooms, the living room, the whatever. Like there's speakers in every room, so somebody's listening to something different. So you walk in the kitchen, and it's my sister listening to everything Chris Brown and everything B2K and everything like Chingy, and then you walk into the living room, and it's my dad listening to everything India.Arie and everything Amy Winehouse and everything like LaFrey and Boogie Down Productions and KRS-One. You walk into my brother's room, it's everything Lil Wayne and Bun B and Young Buck, and then you walk into my brother's room over here, and it's everything Isley Brothers and everything Lauryn Hill and Jill Scott. So like it was music everywhere, all over the house. So like it was one in such a special space, because I'm like, I got introduced to so much good music. It kind of fine-tuned my ear, but like I've been obsessed since I was 6 years old. When my brother bought me my first album, it was 8701 Usher, which as a 6-year-old, I shouldn't have been listening to the album. Shouldn't have been listening to You Remind Me at 6 years old. Didn't know nothing that he was talking about, but it made me fall in love with music. Like, I've been obsessed ever since. I don't look like what I've been through. I think the story that I would tell is there was a 3-year period of tragedy that happened in my life, from the age of, say, 14, 15, 16. My parents get divorced when I'm 14. That happens a lot, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it's still hard for any teenager or any kid, like growing up in a 2-parent household. When I'm 15, my mom has to have a surgery because like she just keeps losing blood. She almost died because of like a lot of blood loss. She's better now. She's thriving, living her best life. But then in 2011, my brother committed suicide. So 3 years of like things happening back to back kind of like could make anyone like be heavy and can take a toll on anyone. What's interesting is that I've seen people be in situations or circumstances like this, and they blame the Lord immediately. They're like, God, if you do this, I'll never forgive you, or how could you let this happen? I can never trust you again. And they're disappointed and their heart is broken, which is understandable, but also like, I don't know, I saw my mom choose to go the opposite route in those moments and say like, God, I don't understand, but I trust you. And she decided to lean on him instead of like blame him. And I think that that's what changed the tide for me. So I decided to look at that moment and say, I'm going to be more intentional about my relationship with this man named Jesus that my mom decided to lean on instead of run from or blame in these unfortunate circumstances. And it worked out, I think, because I've been able to talk to people about the story. I've been able to like share the healing journey. I've been able to tell people how present God was in those moments. Like, it took me like a good second to like say all of this, but like a friend of mine, Amanda Cook, said it in 3 or 4 easy statements. She said that God has never been intimidated by my questions. He's never been upset at my frustrations. He's always stayed in the thick of the tension of the argument, and he always fights fair. I think that a lot of people can run to the Lord with their frustrations of like, God, I don't understand this, and this isn't fair. And he'll meet you in it, and he's not going to be angry with you because you're telling him how unfair it is. He understands your humanity. And you can be as vulnerable and as blunt and as argumentative as you want to be, and he will listen. And he will always fight fair. He will always be like, yeah, you're right, that isn't fair. But watch what I can do with this situation, even if it's unfair. Watch how I turn the tide and turn the table, and it will be more than fair on the other side. Watch what I can do with this very unfortunate circumstance. So I think that was a moment that was very dark that God ended up turning the tides for, and now we're able to use this as a reference point of God's goodness. Around 20, I got introduced to all things worship. Like I knew gospel, right? And then I knew Casting Crowns. That was my only vantage point for Christian music. I knew nothing about like Ludacris. I knew nothing about the Aaron Coles. I knew nothing about like the people that were doing Christian music different from what I was growing up with. I knew nothing about Hillsong, Bethel, Jesus Culture, IHOP, like none of those things. I knew nothing about any of that, and I got introduced to that like at 20 all the way to about 24, 25. And then I started to like lead worship in that context. So this journey has been interesting. And then I stuck into math off of a friend's invitation because I didn't have an invitation back then. And my second day of the invitation, we wrote Promises, and then Promises came out a year later, and the rest was kind of history. We've just been trying to figure out how to like navigate the winds and waves of like all of this over the last 4 years. So yeah, when I was a part of Mav, it was very pure, very intentional. It was about God's presence and God's people, and I think it was a really, really special time, especially like that 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021 era. Like it was really, I don't know, like really different. Like we had the safety nets of like, you're gonna build out like a set list, we're gonna like create these things, but like there was this like anything goes kind of mentality of like, God, if you want to interrupt our schedule, then do so. Like there were so many times that we were on the tour in 21 where we have a set list, and then in the middle of the set list, God is hijacking the night, and now next thing you know, like we're doing something completely different than what we planned because God is in the room, like because that was the entire objective. So my time with Mav was really, really special, really, really like powerful, and the artists were kind and understanding and intentional. You know what I mean? Like it was a really, really beautiful time. I would say that it brought me lifelong friendships. I would say that my time at Mav brought me lifelong friendships. It led me down a path that I feel like I needed to go in. It connected me to the right people, and it taught me a lot. I've learned a lot of amazing lessons. You know what I mean? I learned the difference between the marketplace and the priesthood. I learned how to navigate both spaces, because it's interesting that the industry is, because worship was never meant to be an industry, always to be a priesthood, and I learned that in my Mav days because we were able to be priests. So one of the most memorable moments is the creating of Promises, 4 strangers in a room, for sure. The moments that are memorable for me are probably not the moments that everybody think that they would be. The memorable moments for me is like me, a guy named Carrington Gaines, a lady named Kayla Alvarado, and her now husband Linwell were put into a room, and we're 4 strangers, and we just have a conversation about like where we are with the Lord and what season we're in, and then next thing you know, we write a song that becomes one of the biggest songs in the world at the time. None of us knew that was going to be a thing. We never planned for that. We were just writing a song that we needed to hear to carry us through the season of waiting. But it's like these 4 no-name songwriters, these 4 no-name artists that like at the time get together and create something special that literally goes past the 4 walls of that room, and it sweeps over God's people, and it like creates a space for God to like reintroduce himself to his people as good and faithful and kind. I think that's a memorable moment for me. Like this song that was written within the 4 walls of a Airbnb in Atlanta somehow made its way across the globe, and we don't know how, and we don't know why, and we don't know like what God was up to. You know what I'm saying? Nobody knew pandemic was coming, but this is the song that gave people like confidence and peace that God was going to carry us through pandemic, even though we have no idea what tomorrow brings. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a really, really like memorable moment for me to look back over. I'm like, God, I did not expect you to do this. You know what I mean? I didn't even know what to even like look for. Somehow you decided to like bless people through a song that we never intended to release to people. We just were trying to write for ourselves and like write something to pull us out of dark spaces. So that's one of them. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Joel Barnes, and you're checking out 24/7 HH. My new album, The Good Shepherd, is out. It's available now on all streaming platforms. Go check it out.